We continue now at the top of Daf Samech Beis Meseches Nedarim. This is Nedarim Daf 69b. And the previous summit, the Gemara asked, what if the person said that he was upholding the neder? Let's say we're talking about a father and a daughter. So let's say the father says he's upholding the neder, and then he says he's annulling the neder, and then he also says that it's not going to be upheld unless it's also annulled. So what would be in such a situation? And the Gemara says, Tashma, come in here the following proof, Mipluksa de Rabbi Meir Rabbi Yossi. From the machlokas between Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Yossi, this is the same machlokas that the Rosh mentioned on the previous summit, at the bottom of the previous summit. Tetnan, as we learned in a Mishnah, Harezu Temuras Ola Temuras Shlamim. Let's say a person has an animal and he says this animal should be in exchange for an Ola and in exchange for a Shlamim. Harezu Temuras Ola Divrei Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Meir says it becomes a Temuras Ola. We follow the first part of his statement. Rabbi Yossi says, if that's really what he wanted originally, really he wanted both. But it's impossible to say two things at once. One of the statements had to come first. So Devar of Kayamin, so what he said actually is effective, and the animal is going to be both a Tmuras Ola and a Tmuras Shlamim. We'll take a look over here at the Mosaf Rashi. Harezu Temuras Ola Temuras Shlamim Shehemid Behemas Bemaschulin Eitzel Shtayim. The case over here is he takes a regular animal and he puts it next to two animals that are karbonos. Achas Ola v'Achas Shlamim. One of the animals is an Ola, one is a Shlamim, and again he takes this third regular animal and he places it next to them v'Yomer, and he says Harezu Temuras Ola Temuras Shlamim. This is going to be in exchange for the Ola and the Shlamim. So Harezu Temuras Ola. According to Rabbi Meir, we follow the Ola. Tfos Lashon Rishon Kedusha Chala al Kedusha. We go by the first language, the first thing he says, and we say therefore that it's an Ola and not a Shlamim, because you can't have one kind of Kedusha Bichal and another. Divrei Rabbi Meir, de Islay Rabbi Meir, Tfos Lashon Rishon. That's the opinion of Rabbi Meir. Again, Rabbi Meir says Tfos Lashon Rishon. But Hoel v'Yafshir Likro Shnei Shemos Ke'echad. Rabbi Yossi responds, really he wants it to be both, he just can't say both at the same time. He's going to have to make one phrase go before the other. So Devar of Kayamin, so therefore, according to Rabbi Yossi, what he says is effective. V'chetzia Temuras Ola, v'chetzia Temuras Shlamim. This animal is actually half Temuras Ola and half Temuras Shlamim. So what happens in such a case? V'tirad shetistai, you let it graze until it develops a mum. V'timocher, you sell it. V'yavi b'dmei chetzia Temuras Ola, you bring with the money, half of it is used for an Ola. Uv'dmei chetzia Temuras Shlamim, and half of it is used for a Shlamim. Uv'hachi askinan shahayu lefan of Ola Shlamim k'shehemir as a zubahen. And again, Rashi says that's what we're talking about over here, that in front of him was an Ola and Shlamim when he made this Temurah. So that's the machlokas, Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Yossi, in terms of the karbonos. And the Gemara continues, Va'afilu Rabbi Meir lo kamer. Even Rabbi Meir, who said that we follow the first part of the phrase and we say that it's an Ola, that it's Temuras Ola, even he only said, lo amar lo teichel zu ela imkein chalazu. That's because the person never made a statement saying at the end of a statement that one shouldn't be chal without the other. But over here, in our original question on the previous Amud, the Amar, he specifically said, Lo teichel hakama ela imkein chala hafar. He said, I don't want the upholding of the neder to take effect unless the annulment of the neder takes effect. So Rabbi Meir nami moda de hafara chala. So in that case, Rabbi Meir would admit, Rabbi Meir wouldn't say in this case that you follow just the first phrase, which was hakama, which was upholding, because here he said he doesn't want the hakama to take effect unless the hafara takes effect. So Rabbi Meir would admit that the hafara would take effect. And the Rosh explains, Rabbi Meir nami moda de hafara chala. Rabbi Meir would also admit that the hafara would be chal. So what happens when you have both a hakama and hafara to be chal? Perish Reb Eliezer v'hakama lav klumi. So if you have both an upholding and an annulment of a neder, so it ends up that the upholding is nothing and the hafara is chal. V'yesh mefarshim, some say that's not what it is. Some explain as follows: Kevan dechalu shneim, if they're both chal, lo yadina nimuka mimufer. We're actually in a situation of suffix. We don't know whether it's upheld or annulled. And the Gemara continues, Boy Rabba asks, Kayim umufar lechi bevasachas mahu. Let's say he says, I'm upholding and annulling it for you simultaneously. What's the halacha? Tashma, come and hear the following proof. The Yama Rabba, because Rabba says, Kol davar she'eno bazachar zeh, anything that cannot happen one after the other, afilu bevasachas eno, cannot happen simultaneously as well. In this case, the same is true. You can't have a situation where you uphold it and then annul it. That cannot happen bazachar zeh, and therefore it cannot take effect simultaneously either. And the Mefarish explains, Kol she'eno bazachar zeh, kagon shim kar la asiri asiri, v'chazer v'kar l'yod aleph asiri. Let's say you have a situation where you have animals for Meiser Behema, and you call the 10th one the 10th to make it the Meiser Behema, and then you also call the 11th one the 10th, Eino Kadosh, it's not going to be Kadosh. V'kamar afavas achas, shemkar l'shnei asiri stam, Eino achad asar Kadosh, and the same would be true simultaneously. Let's say you call both of them the 10th one, so then we're going to say the 11th one is not going to be Kadosh. Hachanami here also, Kevan de Eino bazeh arzeh, here it's not going to work bazeh arzeh, shemamar lo achshav kayim lechi, ulachar shah amar mufar lechi. For example, let's say he says to her, right now I'm upholding it for you, and then after an hour he says, I'm going to annul it for you. Ein b'hafara, so klum, that's not going to work, the hafara will not take effect. B'vasachas nami, so also vasachas, ki amar kayim umufar lechi, when he says I'm upholding it and I'm annulling it, so ein bos hafara klum, the annulment is going to be nothing. Afagav de b'vasachas, ka amar kayim umufar lechi, even though he said them simultaneously, again the hafara is not going to take effect. And the Gemara continues, Boy Rabba asks the following question, Kayim lechi hayom mahu. Let's say he says that I am upholding it for you today. What would be the halacha? Mi amrinan kamando amar lo mufar lechi lemachar. Do we say that it's as if he said, tomorrow I'm going to annul it? Oh, Dilmor maybe. Halo amar lo. He didn't actually say that. The Mefarish over here explains, Hayom mahu mi amrinan, do we say, Kevan damar hayom, kaman damar hayom yehe mekuyim, aval lemachar yehe mufar lo. It's as if he said, today I'm going to be mekayim it, today I'm upholding it, but tomorrow it's going to be annulled. V'have mufar. And in that case, we would say that it would be annulled. Oh, Dilma halo amar lo beferish mufar lechi lemachar. Maybe he didn't actually say to her beferish that it's going to be annulled for you tomorrow. So again, what would be the halacha in that situation? And we'll continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Ayin Amud Aleph.